Speed. Post.
Ready?
Okay. And 3, 2, 1, action.
Awesome, Melanie. Thanks for being here. Well, let's do the 6-sentence, what is simulation day? If you don't
So, what is student success and what is simulation day? That's the question. That's a loaded one, isn't it? So, really, I think you're referring to what we refer to as our capstone or multi-patient or mass disaster simulation. So mass disaster simulation is probably the more common term that you would be used to hearing. And so what it is actually a opportunity for students from multiple programs to get together and actually take everything they've learned in their entire program and apply it to what would be like a real world work situation for their program or for their profession that they've chosen to learn about. So it's really a really cool day that provides them this great opportunity to interact with some of the same types of professions they would interact with when they graduate and apply everything that they've learned in their program in this probably unique learning situation.
can you talk about the collaboration of faculty to be prepared for that day and then also on that day?
So what you see is about actually it's an hour and a half exactly, of kind of looks like chaos, but it's actually organized chaos. But it takes us about a year to plan. And so we have a faculty member from every single program, as well as someone from administration. We also include security and any of our other stakeholders that could be impacted by that day. And we meet monthly, we'll start in October to start to think about what we want that day to look like. And then we'll start meeting in January and meet every month until that day. So every program has kind of their own little niche that they do, but then we all work together to make sure it's a smooth transition for our learners on that particular day. Lots of communication and lots of negotiation about what will work well for some students and what will work well for others.
Do you think faculty do faculty ever tell you that they, especially if you've had a new faculty member like join recently or a new group join recently, like, are they positive about it? What sort of benefits do they state for themselves as faculty?
Yeah, and I think, it's always to remember it is a huge undertaking, and sometimes as faculty in the midst of all of it, sometimes we are thinking, man, this is such a daunting task. But once you see those students interact and really engage in that experience, that's when those great moments occur. So we know the work is all worth it, because we get to see their positive learning experience from what they did that day.
And you're kind of talking about it already, so if you might repeat some of what you just said, but can you talk a bit more about the student opportunity to collaborate and what their benefits are beyond just getting to work with future colleagues across different disciplines? But do the students, do their eyes light up on that day? Do they feel, how do they seem to feel? Is it something they'll talk about for years? What are the student benefits of this class?
Well, and again, every student experience is going to vary. So some students find it a really fun, engaging learning experience. Some students, it's an eye-opener for them about what their work is really going to be like once they get out into the world, into the real world, as we say. Some students, it's very overwhelming. We really focus a lot on what we call psychological safety on that day. So make sure the students do feel safe in that learning environment, because it can be very chaotic and very stressful. So we're actually creating that very stressful emergency room or accident situation, whatever it happens to be. So when you talk with them a couple years after graduation, they do remember it, and they really have a totally different perspective of what that day was like for them. So really learned a lot about themselves that day, as well as what it would be like to be in practice.
Do students ever come up to you and say anything about, I'm glad I got a chance to work with someone from fire science, or I never thought that I didn't even know what med lab tech was, but I learned about it because of this day?
Yes, actually, that is probably the most common thing that we hear, is I learned so much about that profession, or I didn't know that that profession could do these things, or how similar they are and how very different they are. So I would say that's probably the most common. So we always ask our student, what is the big takeaway from the day? I would say that's probably the most common takeaway is what they learned about working with other professions and what other professions do and how we all work together in the healthcare field.
Awesome. Anything else you want, Megan? More collaboration, or is that?
So this is a capstone event.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the actual term is capstone, but that's kind of confusing. I know you're going to be cutting some of this out. I would use, we call it our mass casualty simulation,
Okay.
That's probably the more common term.
So do they all have to be, is it typically students getting ready to graduate that get to participate in it, or?
Yes, so they're all students within their last few months of their program.
So how do students, when they're starting their programs, learn about it and build momentum up to be able to participate in that day?
So the question is, how do students, when they start, sometimes they don't even know about it, to be honest with you. But I think we've been doing it for so many years now. This was our 4th year of doing that particular one that you're talking about. We actually do one in the fall as well, and this will be our 5th year of doing that one. And so I think they hear about it, they see it, it's on our website, they watch the videos. When we do orientation, we always show those videos. So it's kind of out there so they know about it. And so they get so involved in their programs, this is the case for all of them, that they forget about it in the midst of their programs. And then as it gets towards the end, they're like, oh yeah, we get to do that really cool thing. So.
Is the in the terms of assessment, is the capstone project a final? I know it's not necessarily a capstone project, but is it a sort of program assessment?
It is actually, it's not, and we intentionally did that as a committee. We decided we wanted this to just be a safe, fun, positive learning experience. We don't evaluate our students in any of the programs, and that was a decision that we made as a group, that we didn't want them to feel pressured to perform a particular way. We just wanted them to enjoy and engage in the experience itself. We do evaluate it as far as faculty feedback, student feedback, those types of things, and I do track all of that for our accreditation bodies and those types of things. So.
How many students participate?
Yeah, over hundreds. Our biggest number was over 400, and that was right before COVID hit. And this last year, we were at 280 students participating in the event.
What's it like? What's that like? Just having 280 students doing this whole thing at the same time together?
Yeah, a little chaotic, obviously, but. I always feel like we've done our job when I can just sit down that day and watch it all unfold. So it's a lot of work up front, but when you can sit down and watch it unfold, then you've done that. We as a committee have done a great job. I will tell you that it's always really crazy for about the first 45 minutes, and it looks chaotic, and sometimes people are yelling, and it just seems like it's so disorganized chaos. But then it'll just all of a sudden level out, and everything will start running smoothly. So that's how we know that it's going well.
How do you get 280, 300 people with instructors and staff? How do you get hundreds of people to be on the same page?
Again, coordination and negotiation. Those are probably the two terms that communication, coordination, and negotiation. So every program kind of takes care of their own students, and from the simulation side, we take care of creating that setting, the patients that are going to be there for that day. So each individual program has the responsibility to orient their own students, orient their own faculty, but we make the decisions about what we're going to tell them as an entire group. So divide and conquer, that's how we get it done. So,
do students ever say, wholly blank? How did you get 280 of us to do this at the same time?
I honestly don't think I've ever heard them ask, how did you get us to do it? It's more like, how did you organize all of this, or how does this all happen? So a lot of behind the scenes stuff that students don't know about, and that's okay, that's how we like it. We don't want them to have to worry about how did we make this happen. We want them just to do and enjoy.
Is there, when you're like looking at their faces, students' faces before it starts and after it ends, what's the difference, like on a student X, like any generic student, how different is their face before it starts to like how
Yeah.
they look at when
So I would say looks of confusion, to start with, and not really sure exactly what's expected of them, because we don't give them a lot of prep. We don't like give them big documents to review or plan. We just say, you're going to go and be a firefighter today, or you're going to go and be a paramedic in front of this, this big activity that you're going to go to. So I would say lots of confusion about what exactly is it that I'm going to be doing. And then those afterwards of, as I said earlier, sometimes it's excitement, sometimes it's just that's still exhaustion because it is a very intense hour and a half of time. But if you talk to them, give them a few weeks and then visit with them again, and you get a whole different perspective about, wow, that was really cool and I learned a lot, and we should do this again. Or I wish we would have done this earlier in the program. I hear that a lot, but they weren't ready to do it earlier in the program. So I have to always explain that to them too. But yeah, it is very different, but you get a better sense of how they felt if you give them a week and let them kind of have absorbed all of that organized chaos that they were in the middle of for that time frame.
How has your committee grown from year one to now year 4 or 5? Like, what's the difference in your process as a committee as a whole from the first time you did this event to how you do it, how you're preparing to do it now?
So the very first time we did it, we actually did it with just paramedic and just a few volunteer nursing students. And so it grew from literally just 2 programs, paramedic and nursing, and just 1 campus of nursing at that time, to over to 10 programs in every single campus within a short time frame, within just a couple years. So it was paramedic and nursing, and then criminal justice said, hey, that's really cool, can we come too? And then that's kind of how it everybody thought, that's really cool, can we come too? And when respiratory therapy came on board, and we wanted to actually have a mock hospital, that's when it really grew. So that's when we added surge tech and CNA and med lab tech and respiratory therapy. So we added all of what would be inside a hospital, and that really grew. It really grew from there.
And what is it like? So what are the dynamics of the group like now?
As far as, so there's still there's 1 or 2 faculty from every program, representative to the size of the program. So obviously with nursing being the largest program, they have the most representation, so that, again, because the goal is, as a committee, we're going to make decisions, that's going to get dispersed to the programs, and then the programs are going to be making sure their faculty and their students know what's expected of them when they come on that particular day. So just, we need a bigger conference room, that's probably to meet, and just really, just getting everyone on the same page. It's actually, the support of administration has been huge. Where there's no way that we could have ever done this without the support of administration. So it's grown from just myself and who was the chair of the paramedic program at that time, to including, as I said earlier, about every stakeholder that you could imagine that could be impacted by doing something this large.
And do you find that every stakeholder is committed to the project, and do you know why they might be committed?
We said, if you're not committed, maybe this is not the place for you to be. Not necessarily get out, but marketing is super supportive. Security is very supportive. So the people that we need to actually make it happen are very supportive, because again, if they weren't supportive, there's no way that we could do this. And so we kind of just say, as a committee, you have to be committed to making this happen, or then maybe we just need to refigure something else out. This may not be the year that your program participates. So,
And why do you think, why the commitment, do you think?
would they step out or step
Well,
in?
Yeah, well, like, it just sounds, and you're used to doing it, so it's probably kind of like, it's your everyday, but it sounds like a huge thing.
It's
to
a
put
huge
together
undertaking. It truly is,
for,
yeah.
For everyone involved, right? So like, why does everyone do it?
Because it provides those students with that real life experience. And again, that safe learning environment. You know, it's okay if they make mistakes. It's okay if they don't do everything right. And it's really about learning from that experience and just kind of being engaged in the middle of what it would be like, and knowing that there's nothing you can do to truly harm someone. So it's okay if you just figure it out as you go. That's okay.
If you weren't a part of this committee creating this project, other than restful naps and extra pina coladas, like would you miss it?
Would I miss it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm one of those people that likes, I'm one of those people that, either go big or go home kind of a person. I tend to be a very big idea person, but that's why I need the other people on the committee to help me figure out how to get these big ideas, or to scale back sometimes on those big ideas. So yes, I would definitely miss it.
Do you think it's the same for other faculty and stakeholders?
Maybe not. It really does depend. I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah, it really does depend. There are some people that it's just maybe not their thing, and other people are like, yeah, I just really want to do this. But we've had programs take a little break. This is not the right year for us. Surge Tech didn't participate last year because they had some stuff going on in their program, and so, but he's excited to be back. John's excited to be back next year, so.
Awesome.
Should we pivot just a little bit and talk about the simulation center?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, so the Simulation Center.
Sure, yes.
So the Simulation Center is a little over 7,000 square feet. It's located at the Capitol Center, downtown Des Moines. And it serves all of the campuses and all of health and public services programs. So we have 3 simulation learning sites. We have the center, and then we also have a small lab in Carroll and a small lab in Boone. However, those students, nursing students, still come down to the Simulation Center. We have 9 simulation rooms, and we have 11 simulated patients that live at the center. So.
What's it like dealing with, because then everybody comes in and out, so what's it like dealing with all the different people that are in and out on a day-to-day basis?
So again, organization, communication, those are all huge parts of it. So every program that comes has their own expectations for their faculty. Our job is to create that learning environment for them to come in and do the simulation experiences that they want for their particular program.
Do you feel like everybody gets along pretty well?
Oh, yes, definitely. Do we have our little tiffs every once in a while? Sure. I mean, but for the most part, our goal here is to support student success. And so as long as we all have the same goal, we can work through any challenges that we might have. So.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Wait, so you have 11, what did you say, 11?
So we have 11 simulated patients. So those are mannequins that breathe and talk and have heart sounds and lung sounds and yeah. So I always say we're one of DMAC's hidden secrets. And we are actually an accredited sim center, and as of the recording of this, we are still the only accredited sim center in the state of Iowa.
Awesome.
So.
I had a bunch of actor friends when I lived in Chicago that did
standardized patients.
Yeah. So if you ever need actors,
I was about to say, you were on my list. You can cut this part out when you're ready. But I actually was going to talk to you because I tried that when we first started, and it just didn't quite work out, because we'd love to have some standardized patients.
Well, I think it's great training for actors because it's a way for them to make money periodically when they're not in a gig or some gigs coming up. It's actually, I would love to coordinate
Yeah.
and collaborate with you on that.
Yeah,
So
so
roll your
let's
cut.
talk
Okay.
again.
Yeah, please.
Sorry.
Great. No,
All
that's
right,
great.
so please cut out whatever, you can use every third word or whatever. And I moved, I hope that was okay. It's hard for me to stay in one spot and
I
talk,
think
just
you're
so you know.
fine. Yeah,
How does she
it's
stay on
you.
focus?
That's why we have the professionals, they'll figure it